Hey there, everyone, and hope you're having a great day. Today, I'm super excited to be diving into, well, Justin's going to give us a nice product walkthrough here in a second, into, really a product that we've been working on for the last, couple months now, I'd say. And, it's really focused on that follow up, that post sale sales call follow up, and we're going to be really speaking to some new functionality that we've just released. So if you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, go ahead and comment if you have any questions, comments, feedback. We'd love to get those. And we're going to leave some time at the end for a Q&A. However, if you do have like a pressing question, we'll go ahead and get to it immediately. By the way, I'm George Soto, one of the co-founders here at AssetMule, joined by my awesome co-founder and CEO, Justin Dorfman. So Justin, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, and depending on if you're new to FollowUp, the product that we launched a couple of months ago, we can give you a quick review of that. But today we're really going to be focusing in on this new functionality that we've added to the FollowUp product. That was by far the biggest sort of request that we heard after launching it, and that's the ability to add additional resources to the follow-up asset, essentially making it into a lightweight digital sales room, or what we like to call it, a buyer hub. So just to take a step back, for those that are new to follow-up by AssetMule, I'm going to share my screen here and just kind of give you a quick preview, and then we'll dive into the new stuff here. Let me just share here. All right, George, can you see my screen? Yep, cool. Oh, what's this little notification? Let me make sure that's gone. Okay, cool. So the idea with FollowUp by AssetMule from the beginning was to make it super easy for sales reps to be able to generate these follow-up assets after a demo, right? So you're on a demo with a prospect, they've shared with you their challenges that they're trying to solve. You've identified a good fit for your solution and a couple of use cases that specifically solve those challenges. And now that prospect is essentially a champion that wants to sell your solution internally and get everybody on their team, on their buying committee, on board with making this purchase. So what we do with FollowUp is we allow you, the sales rep, to paste in your call transcript from that call and immediately generate this follow-up asset. This is an example here where I pasted in a transcript for a prospect, or actually this is a customer of ours, but just as an example here, let's say StackPack is a prospect, and you'll see in seconds what's been generated here is this co-branded page that again is specifically speaking to the challenges that they shared on the call, and how, in this case, our solution, AssetMule, can help solve for those challenges, pulling in relevant media elements such as images, and embedding a quick demo video in here talking about next steps, providing social proof, and even calendars, so that it's really easy for that champion to share this with their buying committee, get everybody on the same page, and even schedule those next calls and move forward with the sales process or their buying journey. But the biggest request that we kept hearing from prospects or from customers using this product was, I'd love to add some additional resources here to really provide my prospect all the information they need uh, throughout the sales journey or the buying journey, right? And again, this idea of digital sales rooms kept coming up. And the feedback that we kept hearing was that although digital sales rooms are great in theory, they're really heavy to set up. For a sales rep to put them together for every single one of their prospects is a big lift. And on the buyer side, we started hearing some feedback that it was really very seller centric. So it was almost like a highlight reel of why the seller or this vendor is so great, instead of specifically the information on what the buyer needs in order to understand why this solution is a great fit for them. And as folks were seeing this follow-up asset that we are generating, they were sharing with us that this could be a really great foundation for a lightweight, buyer-centric digital sales room. And again, we like to call it a buyer hub because again, we're trying to be really, really buyer-centric here. And what I mean by the sort of lightweight is, that automation of generating this from a call without having to, again, build this manually. And then buyer centric, meaning that, again, it's not a highlight reel of why this solution is so great, but specifically focuses in on why it's the right fit for that particular buyer. But the piece that we were missing here was adding those additional resources. And that's exactly what we recently released, is this ability beyond just this sort of business case of a page to add additional resources such as decks and maybe proposals or case studies to this, so that again you can feed information, the most relevant information to your buyers throughout the buying journey, reduce friction, and ultimately get them to a purchasing decision much more quickly. So what we've released here is this new sidebar that you can toggle from this kind of main content page to the sidebar. And what you'll see from the get-go is a table of content here, and I'll show you how the interaction is on the buyer side, but essentially allowing them to quickly navigate to the section that they want, whether it's seeing the demo or seeing the next steps. But then also this ability to add additional resources here. So just to give you some examples of what you may want to add to the page, one might be, okay, after that demo, we've got that demo video in here, right? That short, in this case, is like a 2-minute demo video, but maybe we want to add the entire recording here so that anybody in the buying committee that does want to sit in and see what was discussed and see the demo in full can see it without having to have joined that call. So, I use Zoom to record my calls. And what you can do here is grab the URL to that recording. And let's give this additional resource a name. So I'm going to call it demo recording. What's nice is you can also choose from an icon library here. So I can say, okay, I'm going to use the star to represent that. And then I can paste in the URL for that demo recording. And now what you'll see is the demo recording here, right? And I'll show you again how the prospect can interact with that. But let's say I want to add some additional, some more resources here. So I'm going to add another resource, and let's say I had a slide deck that I walked through during that presentation that I also want to include here as an additional resource. In this case, I'm using Google Slides. I can grab the URL for that slide. And again, let's give this a name. Let's call it slide deck. And again, I'm going to choose an icon here, and I can just paste that in. And now we have the slide deck attached to the page as well. And I'll just give one more example. We provide our pricing information on our website. We have a pricing page here, so I can also add that, right? I can go here and add another resource. Let's call it pricing options. And again, I'm going to choose, let's do this one here. And I'll paste that in, and now the pricing options are added. And just to give you some more examples here, maybe there's a info security or data privacy document that needs to be shared at some point during the sales process. You can add that in there. Or maybe you get to a point where you've now developed a proposal for them that has pricing information that's specific to their use case, and then an implementation plan and all that great stuff. Again, you can add that to as a additional resource. And then even maybe you get to the end of the sales process, and now you have the subscription agreement in an e-signature format. Again, this can be anything that is accessible as a URL. So you can add that to the asset as well, or to the page as well, and they can actually go ahead and access it and sign for your service right through the page. So those are just some examples here, but really the sky is the limit on what type of resources you can start adding to this page. And now as you're adding them to the page, when you share it with your prospect, this is what it's going to look like. You'll see again the main page that they have here that was generated from the call recording, right? And again, the table of contents where they can easily navigate through that page, see how you can help them, check out the solution in action with the demo, review next steps, even access the calendar to schedule that next meeting. But then we also have access to those additional resources that we've added here, right? So they want to watch the demo recording. They can see it right here on the page, right? Without having to navigate off, everything's available through this window here. Or they want to review the slide deck, they can do that as well, or the pricing options, or the case studies that you've attached, or that proposal, or that e-signature agreement. Again, now everything is available, not just to your champion, but to anybody they share it with on the buying committee, all in one place, all in one URL, right? So that they're not having to navigate through email attachment or anything like that, and everything is accessible all here. So that's the new additional resources feature, and really sort of laying the foundation to this buyer hub vision that we have for FollowUp by AssetMule. And just to speak to that a little bit more, here's what you can expect sort of coming soon to FollowUp by AssetMule to really lay the foundation of that lightweight, buyer-centric buyer hub use case. So, right now, as I mentioned, sort of the process is the sales rep would grab their call transcript, paste that in here to start that process of generating that personalized follow-up page. But again, one of the most common complaints that we heard about digital sales rooms was their heavy nature, and specifically that sales reps kind of have to get out of their workflow into another tool to sort of put together that digital sales room. And again, with sales reps having maybe 3 to 5 demos every day, find that time for them to put together that digital sales room environment, right? Log into another tool, put it together, and share it with their prospect is just too much to ask. And what we were hearing was just a lack of adoption of these digital sales room tools because of that extra lift, or that extra ask that is being asked of that already busy sales rep. Right now with FollowUp by AssetMule, yes, it's a little lighter, but it's still the same thing. You have to, the sales rep has to paste this in here and so on. So what we're working on right now are integrations with the most common AI note-taking tools, as well as directly with the call recording tools, the Zooms of the world, so that the sales rep actually doesn't have to take that extra step and paste in the call transcript. You can imagine, once we have these integrations, a sales rep, right after their call with a prospect, right after their demo, just like they get the call summary from tools like Fathom, they'll get an email from FollowUp by AssetMule saying, hey, your asset is ready. Make any edits you want and go ahead and send it to your prospect. And right from that email, they'll be able to access this page and make any edits they want, add any additional resources, and again, embedded right in their workflow without having to do any work. They'll have this page ready for them to go. So that's kind of the first thing that you can expect coming soon, really to enable that lightweight buyer hub experience. The second thing is, right now, again, we're asking the sales rep to come in here and add additional resources to this. And I showed you, it's not too heavy a lift, right? It's copy and pasting, but still, these are sales reps that, have back-to-back calls, and, any ask of them to do any additional work is an ask, right? So what we're going to be doing is automating the process of pulling these additional resources into the follow-up page. And again, always giving the sales rep the opportunity, the option to edit anything, but taking away that heavy lifting. And the way that we'll do that is, right now today, you'll see that you have the ability to sign in and create an account. And what that account does and what it looks like is it allows you to do things such as access your assets, and we have tracking capabilities coming soon that I'll talk a little bit to more. Your marketing team can even set some brand guidelines here in terms of the default colors and logos that get pulled in. Again, we identify this stuff automatically from the get-go, but you have the ability to override what we're finding and really set your default or configure your default settings. And then what we allow you to do right now, as well as curate images that get auto pulled into the asset, right? Again, we're discovering some from the start automatically, but if you want to sort of enrich your assets with more images or more specific images, you can start curating those images here, and we'll pull in the most relevant ones based on the call transcript, what was discussed, and the descriptions that you provide for those images. But what we're going to be doing is expanding beyond images here to the demo videos, maybe even interactive demos, to customer quotes that can get pulled into that asset page, but also those additional resources, the ability to add your case studies, the ability to add, um, you know, uh, demo recordings or interactive demos in here, and all kinds of other assets so that we can automatically start populating those additional resources, pricing pages, ROI calculators that you might have uh, created in Google Sheets, for instance, and so on, that can get auto pulled into the asset. Uh, Again, based on their relevance to the conversation and what was discussed with the prospect. So that's um, the other thing that we're going to be adding here soon. Um, and then again, we really want to make this a buyer-centric experience, right? So what we'll also be doing is adding easy ways for your prospects to then share this with their team, right? The ability to maybe just straight from this page add the email addresses of their boss and the CFO and whoever else is involved in that purchasing decision, so that they can send them this page really quickly and easily. And the final thing that I'll mention here that we'll then be able to do is, as the various members of the buying committee view the page and interact with the page, we'll be able to identify who's involved in that purchasing decision. And I showed you a quick glimpse over here in the account of coming soon, the ability to track high level analytics, how many views, how many viewers, how many clicks your assets, your follow-up pages are getting. But imagine being able to go even deeper and mapping out who's actually viewing these, right? And identifying, oh, the CFO viewed the page, right? And maybe they even clicked on that ROI calculator spreadsheet that Google sheet that we attached to this, or, the CEO of the company viewed it and he's or she has reviewed the proposal, right? Really starting to give you that behind the scenes look of who's involved in that buying or that purchasing decision, and how engaged they are, maybe who needs a little bit more attention, what sort of information seems to be resonating with them. So again, just to kind of recap here, what we're really trying to do is make this a buyer hub or a digital sales room on autopilot, right? So that the sales rep doesn't have to do that heavy lifting. Everything is automatically generated, all automatically curated and pulled in for them to share, and then giving that buyer that really great experience where it's not everything under the sun in terms of what this company or what this vendor does and all their, their highlight reel, but really the specific information that is relevant to them, their use case, their challenges, their needs, that can help them more easily get to a purchasing decision, really creating that bridge between seller and buyer, ultimately to make the purchasing easier on the buyer side and the sales cycles much faster and streamlined on the seller side. So that's the quick preview today. I'm going to pause here for any questions that anybody has. Oh, I think George, you're still on mute. There you go. I think you're off mute now.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? My internet seems to be going in and out. All right, awesome. Yep. Just folks out there, just as a reminder, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, go ahead and add them. This is the time to dive in.
And this is going to be posted on LinkedIn as well, right, as a recording. So We'll answer questions as they come in. It can be live now, but also, you know, in the future as you view this, right, on LinkedIn. And we'll do more of these sessions as well. If you've been tuning into the AssetMule Office Hours, we try to do a mix of product or feature demos as we're building this product. Live opportunities to see some of the new things that we're doing and ask questions, share feedback on what you'd like to see. So definitely tune into those. But we also will be mixing in, as we always do, some sessions with some thought leaders out there, right? People that are out there in the field doing the work, and on various different topics that are relevant to sales enablement, buyer enablement, product marketing, sales, and so on. So, stay tuned for some of those sessions that are coming up that are less AssetMule and followed by AssetMule product centric and more about the practice of go to market that we're all trying to figure out in this new AI world here.
Absolutely. And one thing that I wanted to kind of mention, like this idea of creating a space or a personalized experience for prospects is not a new one, right? In terms of this like collaboration space and the category of digital sales rooms has really been kind of emerging over, I would say, the last 5 or 6 years, give or take, and has, I would say, maybe like the last four, right? And one thing that not just digital sales rooms, but most sales tools have struggled with was really sales person adoption. And this is not a new concept. This is like anybody who's operated a sales team knows that getting your sales reps to update Salesforce was a full-time job in itself. And I think the thing that has me optimistic about just kind of our space, right, is the idea that now we have these LLMs that are now behind the scenes in some cases, and you know powering workflows in other cases. And so the promise that you could create a personalized, digital sales room or buyer hub or just space, however it sort of makes sense to you, in the past was intriguing, but let's face it, like doing it as a rep, because we've talked a lot about this, Justin, right? Like as a sales rep, your time is money, literally, right? This is the only function within an organization that literally is getting paid for every second, essentially, right? That you're working, and a deal or revenue or hitting your quota or etc. Is something that can change in a matter of a second. So that hour that you spent putting together a bunch of assets or a digital sales room or whatever, right, a folder before that, right, was taking away from your day-to-day tasks. Updating the CRM, right, and all that was taking away. Now we have this ability to do that in today's world. So everything that we've like pontificated for decades around the value of these tools can actually start to really happen now, and free us up to focus on not just doing administrative tasks, but doing what we're supposed to do as salespeople, right? And so that's one of the really sort of exciting things here. The other thing is like the emergence of call recording. Shout out to Chorus and Gong and Zoom and some other sort of macro environment trends that happen that have now laid the foundation for us to be on these calls uh, and so on. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and they were talking to someone in the real estate industry, and the that individual refused to actually meet in person, right? Which is wild because this individual is a little more old school and stuff, and was like, what the heck is going on here, right? Like, the salesperson doesn't want to meet with me. But again, all these trends, right, are really sort of coming together in almost a perfect storm. And so, what we're doing here, and you're starting to see, kind of this sort of application of LLM across our space, is really, I think, again, bringing the promise that we've been preaching for such a long time to its full potential, right? And so the ability to get off a call, right, and just have that experience created in a magical way. Why would you not create that experience for your prospect if it doesn't, it require this heavy lift, right? And like I saw someone post something earlier on LinkedIn about why would you not create an experience for your prospect as if they were buying $1 billion product, right? Well, we know why. Like I just ranted about it for the last, 10 minutes, right? Well, we know why the heavy lift. Well, if that's gone away, why would you not do that, right? So exciting times just in general, but I'm pretty bullish. And folks, real quick, I know we're coming up here on time. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, if you disagree, if you don't think that creating a personalized buyer hub or digital sales room or asset makes sense, I would love to hear it. Uh, why is that the case, right? Why is creating a better, more personalized, buying environment for your prospect not great? And I could play devil's advocate against my own sort of thinking, right, and my own biases around why that might be the case, around streamlining things and things like that. So I love to hear what people are talking about and out there. But I think even the idea of communication, like I don't know if you checked your email lately, but if you're in a real sales cycle, in my mind, even the communication streamlining, it, being able to actually have that done in a more elegant way, I think there's an opportunity there. So that's my take. Awesome. Well, folks, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. If you do have any questions, comments, feedback, definitely comment on this, whether you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn. If you want to check out FollowUp, go to followup.assetmule.ai. You can try it out every day free. You can get one free asset to send out, and if you like it and want to upgrade, it's pretty inexpensive. $20 a month, you get unlimited access, and you can go to town and really start to provide that better, more holistic tier one buying experience for your prospects. And as Justin mentioned, keep an eye out for the call recording integrations that we're currently working on. Right now, you can simply grab that transcript, drop it into FollowUp, and it does the trick there. But as we salespeople know, and as I sort of alluded to a couple of times, we definitely want stuff to be more automated and more magical, so we can stay focused on doing what we do, and that's building relationships, driving deals forward, and so on. So if you do like this content, go ahead and click on subscribe here on YouTube, or follow us on LinkedIn. We appreciate it. We spend a lot of time creating content for y'all, hopefully adding value and educating and inspiring y'all. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.